Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very strange but special draft here on the channel. Today, I'm going to be going through my day 2 draft from the Arena Open. Now, I've already posted part 1 and my sealed run, which you can find on the channel, but the reason this is a different type of video is because when I recorded this video, I was not able to do the audio commentary live, so I just recorded the gameplay, and now I'm going through the actual, like, talking through my plays and stuff in a post-op fashion. So it's going to be an interesting type of video, and we'll see how it goes. I was doing a team draft with some friends, and so I wasn't able to get to my recording setup. It was a blast, though. Team draft is a totally awesome format. That was my first time playing it. But basically, this is going to be me talking through all of my decisions, and this is a super cool draft and a really fun one. So Arena Open drafts are always awesome, and so I can also do some cool stuff, like I can skip through some of that stuff because I already did my intro. Now, Pack 1 Pick 1 was a doozy. It really, I haven't watched back this draft since, but we opened up Invasion of Alara. And Invasion of Alara is a 5-color, like, rare battle that, like, if you want to draft a 5-color deck, this is actually like a card you can cast in the format. It gets you a lot of value. And overall, it's just like, it's the sort of card where, I don't know, I'd never played with it, and I'd never played against it. But I knew 5-color was possible in this format, and so I'm incredibly tempted here by Invasion of Alara. And it's actually like something that I'm like taking the time to think about, because the rest of this pack is relatively weak. The only other card in consideration is Afara's Dispersal, which is quite good. It's a very powerful common. The reason why I'm still considering Invasion of Alara over it is because if I don't take the Invasion of Alara, I can basically guarantee that there's no chance I can draft the 5-color archetype, which I think could be a pretty good deck if it's open. And I wanted to give myself a potential chance of playing the 5-color deck, and I thought that this gave me the highest chance of having the highest power level in my deck. Now, I do kind of immediately get punished because I don't see like a good, like, necessarily green follow-up. Maybe I'm supposed to consider this Renata Called to the Hunt. Skyclave Aerialist, I think, is just the best card in the pack by like a pretty wide margin, and so I end up just leaning towards the Skyclave Aerialist here. Nothing else particularly close. Renata, because green is kind of the base you want to go to for Invasion of Alara, but I wasn't really trying to take a power level hit here. I was still just trying to take the cards that I thought were the best. And I generally don't like necessarily taking these like inflexible cards like Invasion of Alara, but I think at the time I was both lower on Afara's Dispersal and also just like wanted to stay open to the 5-color deck as a potential option, because in this sort of draft where it doesn't really matter, in a day 2, in the second draft of the Arena Open, you need to get like, you want to get to the 4 wins threshold, and that's hard to do. So you kind of have to like take some chances to get a higher power level. But I take the Skyclave Aerialist here, and then third pick, I go for the Transcendent Message. I just think this card's really strong, even though like I'm kind of disappointed here because there's no green cards to kind of follow up my Invasion of Alara. I could have played like blue-green, splashing a bunch of stuff and things like that. I think Transcendent Message is really, really good, or at least solid. It's better than like the other cards in this pack. One card that I especially like that I don't think other people like as much, because I usually get it pretty late, is Ral's Reinforcements, which does go well with Transcendent Message. Those were both cards I considered. It's kind of funny because I'm talking through it and I'm pretty sure my past self was on these exact same thoughts, and then just seeing them click the packs is kind of funny. But yeah, I think Transcendent Message is good. If I had started blue card, that would just be better, because as far as Dispersal would just be a nice card to have access to. But I think we're still in good shape here. And here we don't see a single green card, so the Invasion of Alara dream is kind of dead at this point. I don't really regret the pick super heavily. I think it's a totally fine pick, probably, in all honesty. Just like a little bit like it would be super sick to draft a 5-color deck in a money draft for high stakes, but also like a little bit of, you know, I think if you can get the 5-color deck, it's really, really powerful, and does some stuff that like the other decks can't do. And so, yeah, here Captive Weird is the easy pick. There's nothing else even remotely close. It's just a really, really good 1-drop. Goes great with Transcendent Message, and it's looking like blue's pretty open, so I'm in a pretty good spot here. Very happy to see another Captive Weird here. There's not really any other considerations even in the pack, because nothing's even remotely close. We're seeing a little bit of white here. We see a Dismal Backwater for maybe blue-black stuff. It's kind of an interesting spot to be in the draft. Here we see, this is a pick that I definitely regret here. I think here I have 3 blue cards in a row. I think I didn't want to give up on the Invasion of Alara dream. I think Streetwise Negotiator is really, really good. But Tetsuko is a beast of a card, I think, as well. So I could have just taken the Tetsuko here and stayed even heavier blue. And that would have been a pretty good pickup, I think. I think Streetwise Negotiator is probably the second pick out of this pack. But Tetsuko, I think, is just better. Tetsuko is way better than I gave it credit for. I think both of the picks that I would have made differently so far, the Afara's Dispersal and the Tetsuko, are cards that have gone up in my estimation since this draft. Where at the time I was like, okay, one of them's like a bounce spell, which is good in certain decks, but not necessarily good in every, like not like premium in every deck. And Streetwise Negotiator is a card that I'm like, man, this card's amazing. But I still didn't want to give up on the Invasion of Alara plan quite yet. And seeing a Streetwise Negotiator pick 5, I thought was maybe a signal. But I do think Tetsuko would be better. And my draft would have been overall a little bit stronger if I'd had Tetsuko into Fara's Dispersal right here. Again, I kind of like to do a little bit of swinging for the fences, a little bit higher risk strategies in these drafts, because the difference between going 0-2 and like 1-2 or whatever in these drafts versus like 4-0 is pretty significant. You really want to maximize your odds of having just like an A+ level deck. Here, I think I take the Dismal Backwater, just give myself chances of playing blue-black. There's a Phyrexian Censor, which can be pretty good as well. There's an Agar Freezing Flame. I don't like Stasis Field at all. And I think that there's the Plane Cycler here, the Alabaster Host Intercessor, but I just like getting the land here. I was still on the, maybe I'll play the Invasion of Alara. And here I get Marshal of Zalfir pick 7, which was insane. So this draft was really, really weird. And I'm just going to say this now. This Marshal of Zalfir pick, like the Marshal of Zalfir is just like a really throws a wrench in the works type card, because I've been seeing a little bit of white here, but I haven't been seeing like any cards that make me like, oh, I really want to go play white. And I think a lot of the white cards in general are pretty okay. I saw an Elspeth's Smite in an earlier pack, but overall I was kind of trying to hopefully play this like 5-color deck, and it's not really going that direction. Here I see like there's a Geoderm, there's like an Ichor Drinker, there's a Dreg Recycler, so like I'm kind of leaning back towards blue-black. I think Ichor Drinker is just the best card. I like having cheap cards to go with my Convoke spell, like Transcendent Message. The Lifelink can also be nice. It's a really tricky spot, because I did just get a Marshal of Zalfir, so taking a white card is also kind of tempting to go with that. But overall, my draft is really, really odd. And we'll just say it again. If I had taken the Afara's Dispersal and the Tetsuko, it would look a lot cleaner. But at the same time, I think it's easy to be hindsight is 2020 on those sorts of things. If I'd taken the Invasion of Alara and then immediately gotten like a piece of fixing, like a Skittering Surveyor or something like that, this draft would have looked completely different. So like, if blue wasn't open, because like the Invasion of Alara pick can just pay off if green's open, because you can just do some crazy splashes if green's open, and like if blue's not open, which I kind of expected blue to be more contested than it was, because at this point it was pretty commonly known that blue was the best color in the format. But yeah, now we get a Wicked Slumber coming back around kind of late. It's not my favorite card, but it does go well with some of my Convoke shenanigans. We're seeing some more white cards, I'm noting, and then some red cards, but no black cards to speak of here. And this is really not really where I like to be, like not really knowing all my stuff before pack like 3, but here we see a lot of white cards. I mean, yeah, a decent amount of blue as well. I'm really trying to play blue, but my colors are kind of a little bit shifting. And here, blue-white is looking really tempting, because I've got Marshal of Zalfir, I've got 3 white cards in this pack, which are all reasonable, and Temporal Cleansing is really nice. So, pretty interesting. And Wicked Slumber is at its best in blue-white. So yeah, pretty interesting here. Now we get like a Tarkir Dune Shaper. I don't think I took the Oculus Whelp here. That doesn't really make any sense for me to have taken. But yeah, we're just settling in. It's mostly, yeah, we're seeing a lot of late white cards and stuff. So Elspeth's Smite coming back around. We get a late Protocol Knight. So blue-white Knights is looking like where I'm going to be. So like after pack 1, I'm like, okay, we kind of took our shot with Invasion of Alara. This deck would definitely be better if it had those 2 blue cards that I mentioned, but we're going to stop talking about those as extensively. And then we've got like 1 Dismal Backwater, but overall we're in okay shape after pack 1. Did some signal reading. Missing out on a couple of cards is not going to tank a deck by any means. And then pack 2 comes around, and pack 2 is pretty interesting, because pack 2, I have the option for Seal from Existence as a heavy white card. I had just had some incredible experiences with Halo Forager, and my deck wasn't looking the most aggressive. I only had 2 2-drops. I didn't have like super fast starts, and I thought I could maybe splash black to get this Halo Forager, and I had a couple of black cards. I think like at the time I wasn't 100% focused, I'll be completely honest. There were folks all around playing Magic, and I was chatting with folks. Because as I said before, I was doing a team draft with folks right before this, and so we were hanging out drafting. My friend had brought some old Khans of Tarkir packs, and so we had just drafted those. And so I just was like, okay, I could just dip back into black. I don't really have any insane white cards. Like if you look at my white cards that I actually have, I have a Marshal of Zalfir, and that's like the only one that's actually like premium. And so Halo Forager was like, okay, I can take that move towards blue-black. Maybe I'll just get my black cards this pack, and then blue will be open. It'll carry me in pack 3. I get another Captive Weird here. There is an Invasion of Xerex. if I was trying to go like back towards blue-white. I also have Transcendent Message, which I think is better in blue-black. And yeah, I wasn't like over the moon about the way this was going. I was kind of like towing the line between white and black as a second color. Here we see another pack. This pack doesn't have any white cards in it really, other than Aerial Boost. It's got a couple of couple of solid black cards. Invasion of Eldraine is solid. Aetherblade Agent solid. Dreg Recycler solid. So it's got a lot of options for me, especially if I go back towards this black path. But again, I wasn't really considering white being insanely open because I was seeing like decent numbers of white cards, but like I saw the Marshal of Zalfir as a really good blue-white gold card, but I wasn't seeing like any insane like individual white cards. And so here I was like, okay, I can switch back to blue-black, and I think that could be okay for me. Here, I think Omen Hawker is just the clear pick. It's just a really good card. You can generally just do some good stuff with Omen Hawker, and it's a good cheap card to play for Convoke synergies and stuff. I don't know if I end up taking it, but I'm hoping I took it here. I forget exactly what I took, but it's a pretty good card, and it just fits into a lot of stuff. Again, I think I was higher on, I was lower on Omen Hawker then than I am on it now. I think it just plays out a lot better. So there's definitely picks I would make differently. And then I get another late Marshal of Zalfir, which just kind of throws me for another loop. This was just constant torment. It felt like every time I was about to settle into a lane, I got thrown for a loop. And in all of these cases, if I had just taken the blue cards, I would have ended up so much better. But here I'm just like, okay, I can just abandon the black cards again. 2 Marshal of Zalfirs is really good. I can go back towards blue-white. And I don't really actually have that many playables here because of this like weird dicey maneuvering I've been doing. And also because of the fact that I've been like bouncing around a lot in terms of like just not taking the blue cards and taking the cards of the other color when they're close, which I guess is a drafting lesson in and of itself. But it's also like an interesting note where it's like, okay, I kept thinking that the power level was slightly higher for the other cards, which in retrospect, I just don't know if that's even true. But at the time, it's important to remember that when I was drafting this, I didn't have quite as much format knowledge as I do now. I was continually getting these captive weirds, which was really helpful. But I didn't have all of the same thoughts on the format then as I do now. So like a lot of these like close picks, it's like, okay, I probably would have taken the other card now. But I do think that like, I have to say, after seeing someone cast Invasion of Alara against me, that card is absolutely crazy. So like if folks haven't seen that card in play, it's absolutely nuts if you cast it. And so just keep that in mind as well. Here I see like another pack where there's just a bunch of white cards, which is pretty nice. I get this Realm Breaker's Grasp, I'm pretty sure, or over the Knight of the New Coalition. Maybe I take the Knight of the New Coalition because I wanted to go with Marshal of the Zalfir. I have 2 Marshal of Zalfir. It's a close pick though. I think I might end up taking the Realm Breaker's Grasp just because I'm lacking cheap plays and I want some more cheap plays. But this was a really, if I had just like known that I was gonna take the second Marshal of Zalfir, I think I would have made some picks differently. Do I actually not take Realm Breaker's Grasp here? That's insane. Wild. That's absolutely... I think I just really wanted stuff to go with Marshal of Zalfir. I feel like I would probably take Realm Breaker's Grasp now. But this was it was really a weird one because like I was just switching back into blue-black when I got the Marshal of Zalfir and went back. And then I get a Blight Reaper Thallid, which I think is one of the best 2-drops in the format. Absolutely insane card. Seeing it pick 8 means a bunch of people at the table passed it. Here, I'm like, this is just probably a moment of weakness where I'm probably just supposed to take the Temporal Cleansing or even the Protocol Knight. But I'm like, I have all these black cards still. I could stay flexible till pack 3 and see what I open. If I open a really good black card, I could be fine. And so I take the Blight Reaper Thallid and keep towing this line. I wheel Unseal the Necropolis. I wheel Timoret. I wheel Golden Scale Aeronaut. This is... it's a really weird draft. Like, kind of a tough one to navigate because it feels like there's always something that like hits me out of nowhere. Also, as I said, I wasn't as keyed in as probably even watching it back maybe. Now I have more format knowledge, more experience in the format, but like it's tough to figure out. We get a late Quende, which is also a knight, which is pretty relevant. I'm like sorting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play blue and then I'm going to pair it with either black or white. Halo Forger is an excellent card. I get a late aerial boost, which is really nice. There's also a Dreg Recycler though I could take. But I'm really it's really like getting this aerial boost. It was the only white card in the pack at the time, and it wheeled, so white's maybe looking more open from that. I get an Expedition Lookout if I just need more 2-drops for some reason. But yeah, I'm still kind of towing the line between black and white, and my white cards aren't very good, is the thing, in my perspective at the time especially. It's like I have these 2 knights of Marshal of Zalfirs that are really my main reasons to be white. And so I'm just kind of hoping that I get some like early direction in pack 3 so that I can just spend all of pack 3 filling out my deck. And that is kind of what happens. I get a Gyruda, which is a really good card. There's also Invasion of Amonkhet, which is like, if Gyruda wasn't in this pack, it'd be really nice to have access to that card. It's like, okay, cool. I can get Invasion of Amonkhet, which is a huge power level boost for my deck. Huge stuff. I get the Gyruda, though, which I just think is a really good card. Gyruda just usually gets like at least 8 mana worth for 6 mana, or you get like 10 mana sometimes worth of spells. You get like a huge tempo swing when you play a Gyruda. And so I was like, okay, we're going back towards the blue-black lifestyle and just putting in Gyruda, even though it's just a mono blue card. There's also the Invasion of Amonkhet, which is incredible. There's the Swordsworn Cavalier if I wanted to go more Knights. Phyrexian Awakening can be pretty good. But I just take the Gyruda. And then I get past Boonbringer Valkyrie, and I'm like, okay, we're playing blue-white. It's back on the menu. There's also like insane cards like Preening Champion, Skyclave Aerialist. So I could have potentially just tried to be like, okay, we're sticking to black-white. We're sticking to blue-black. But again, when you get past a Boonbringer Valkyrie, you're like, okay, white's going to be open this pack. And then I do get an Afara's Dispersal here. It's weird, though, because there's not another good blue card in this pack. It's like a complete nightmare scenario for me, where it's like blue was super open pack 1, or relatively open pack 1. I keep getting these captive weirds. Maybe I'm the only one who likes them. But I get an Afara's Dispersal here, and the only other card I could even take is Asunder the Gateway, which is just incredibly worrisome. It's like, oh no. So this deck is actually coming together. Like, if you look at the cards I have access to, I've got like solid cards, and like staying open actually kind of rewarded me with this Boonbringer Valkyrie. Here, there's Thalia, there's an aerial boost here, which I think I just take to get some extra interaction and stuff. There's a Skittering Surveyor if I did want to splash. Maybe I'd take the Skittering Surveyor, because I do have some good black cards that I was considering splashing at the time. And I have the Dismal Backwater. I think it might have actually been even correct to take it, and then I could splash the Halo Forager. But I think I was thinking like, okay, my blue-white deck probably wants to be relatively aggressive, and splashing is probably not going to be good for that, and aerial boost is pretty strong. So I think I'll just take the boost. That was where I ended up, I think. And now I'm just like, what the heck? Quintorius. If I'd taken the Skittering Surveyor, I could maybe have taken the Quintorius there. It just like, this was a really tough one. There's an Invasion of Ulgrotha. The only blue card in the pack is Saiba Cryptomancer. There's some white cards like Daxos. There's a Sunblessed Guardian. I think I took the Saiba so that I could keep my Marshal of Zalfir safe, even though I don't have that many Knights. You can see me checking my Knight count. I only have 5 Knights, which is not as many as I would like. I could have definitely gotten some Knights at various points. This draft was one where I was like, if I had known I was going to play blue-white at the beginning, I could have ended up with like an insane deck, I think. But even here, like, look, white isn't even looking that open. Like, there's way more black cards. There's not a single, like, there's like one blue card that I don't even really like. It's just like kind of a, I think I was like sitting with my friends, like looking at my draft, like, yeah, this is kind of a nightmare. This is just not going super well. Here I get a pretty nice pickup. I get another Temporal Cleansing, some more interaction. I wish I'd had another one of those instead of that Blight Reaper Thallid pick. But then you see, I just get an 8th pick Collective Nightmare. It's like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, black was like, I was getting like weird signals this entire draft where I was just getting like 8th pick premium uncommons. Like 8th pick Collective Nightmare, like what is happening? Like if I hadn't gotten past this Boonbringer Valkyrie, this deck actually might have been like a great blue-black deck. It was so tough. Here, I probably need to just take the Swordsworn Cavalier. I think Phyrexian Awakening is pretty good though. It's just such a weird draft. Like, I don't know what these signals were, but like the drafting was insane. I just took the 2-drop there. Maybe I was supposed to take the Phyrexian Awakening, but I just wanted an extra Knight. And also I really like the synergy with the Swordsworn Cavalier and Quende, because that's good synergy. But yeah, this was a really weird draft. It was it was kind of a demoralizing draft in many ways, because I was like, okay, sometimes you just have one of those seats where it's like, okay, you got to just do your best. And this was one of those ones where, looking back at it now, if I had just taken a couple of blue cards as like tiebreaker picks, my deck would have probably ended up with like a little bit more of a direction. But like none of the cards that are in my deck right now are like super bad. Like I end up getting to cut some of the bad ones, but like none of the cards in my deck are ones that I'm like unhappy to be playing, generally speaking. They're all just like relatively straightforward cards. They all kind of just do what they say they're going to do. I think I end up cutting this Tarkir Dune Shaper and like maybe the Corruption of Tawashi or something. Yeah, I think I cut that in the Tarkir Dune Shaper. But like my deck is just totally solid. All the cards in it are like reasonable. I've got Gyruda, I've got Boonbringer Valkyrie, I've got Transcendent Message for some top end, I've got 2 Marshals of Zalfir. The main weakness of this deck is like lack of like good removal spells. But it's like really tricky to say. I also have 3 Captive Weirds, which is just a really good card. I'm overall just like, this was a really, really tricky draft. And it's like, looking at my final deck, it's like the reason you're allowed to stay flexible and stuff like that in formats these days is because none of the cards in my final deck are like actually bad. Also, I do play this Tidal Terror. It was actually a really good pickup because it's a good card to maybe hit off of Gyruda. It gives me a little bit of more flexibility, and my deck is kind of mid-rangey, so you can actually get some stuff done with this. But I'm really interested to hear what people think of this draft. When I was drafting this, I was like, man, I wish I was commentating this live, but I'm really glad I have this fallback plan of commentating it afterwards because I do kind of want to watch it back and see what it's like. And it's really interesting just looking at how this goes. Obviously, I'm not companioning the Gyruda, but like this was a really, really weird draft. Like, I think just the fact that I kept getting like weird, like 8th pick black uncommons that are really good was like kind of making me think that black was more open than it was. And that's kind of where like an evaluation difference where it's like, I think Blight Reaper Thallid is amazing. And I think Collective Nightmare is amazing. And it was just like kept like kind of coming in weird ways. But yeah, I have enough creatures is what I was double checking there to make sure that I don't just like do nothing. I think I cut the Tarkir Dune Shaper right off the bat because I have 3 captive weirds for early drops to help me with Convoke stuff. And I don't really like the Tarkir Dune Shaper. And then I think my final cut, like if I had to guess what my previous self was thinking, I think my last cut was Scroll Shift. Because that was a card that I have been playing more of than other people have. And I think I was a little bit higher on it than others maybe. But I think a lot of the time I was planning for my turn 3 to just be flipping captive weirds in this scenario. And I think this was the deck that I ended up going with. Just really, really weird draft. If I had taken those blue cards, like this deck would be a little bit better with Tetsuko, but it's not really a Tetsuko deck. Tetsuko is really good in certain decks. I think blue-red especially, where you have a lot of like X1s. You have like the Marauding Dreadship. You have like the 1/1s from Rouse Reinforcements. The Tetsuko pick wasn't a huge miss for me, even though I think giving myself deeper outs into blue would have been nice. Oh. This is the final deck list, by the way. But yeah, the Tetsuko pick would have been fine. Getting an extra Afara's Dispersal also probably would have been fine. But generally speaking, I don't think like the early messing around into the potential green deck was that bad. I think the real spots where it would have been nice to have some stuff maybe was like, I don't even know, getting just like random extra white knights would have been pretty nice in certain spots where it was like, okay, I'm taking the black card because the black card's better. Just weird stuff. Like, look how many black cards I have. I have Invasion of Eldraine. I've got Halo Forager, a Dismal Backwater, a Blight Reaper Thallid. I could have had an 8th pick Collective Nightmare. Just really crazy stuff. And this was the deck I ended up with. It felt like reasonable, like it has some powerful stuff going on, but ultimately it's going to come down to the matches, and that's what we're going to get to right now. So I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on the draft, though, by the way. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the matches. If you have been enjoying my channel and my videos and would like to contribute towards the success of my content going forward, you can become a patron at patreon.com/NicolaiBolas. Patreon is a way for viewers to support the creators who they enjoy and gain access to some unique rewards in the process. So if you become a NicolaiBolas patron, you'll gain access to my card-by-card tier list for March of the Machine with my thoughts on every single card in the set as an extra bonus resource. And you can also gain access to drafts with me and things of that nature. There's a host of cool rewards over at the Patreon, but above all, the funds go towards helping the channel grow and thrive. And so for a couple bucks, you can gain access to some extra stuff and also help the channel succeed. I'd like to give a special shout out to those who support the channel at the credits level. It really does make a big difference. And without further ado, let's get to the games. Welcome to round number 1. We kept this hand on the draw. Super sketchy keep. I need to hit a plains for this hand to be functional even. And of course I don't hit one. It was one of those ones where I was on the draw. I have this Afara's Dispersal, which can surveil me too to help me find a plains. And in retrospect, it was probably a mull. One of the things that was also very relevant to this draft was because I was kind of doing stuff that whole day. I did this draft very close to the deadline. So I was trying to win very quickly, which means I play very fast and almost very loose in some ways as well. It was like, okay, I need to win these games very quickly in order to have a chance here. And so in order to have a chance to just finish the draft, because I started the draft with 2 hours to go in the event, and doing a draft in 4 matches in 2 hours is totally doable. But what I didn't account for was the fact that the queue timer literally took me 30 minutes to find a match sometimes, which is just insane. Here, I just get the Afara's Dispersal to go. I find the planes that I need. I get rid of the Captive Weird because I just want to find 2 planes in a row to slam this Boonbringer Valkyrie. And here I get to actually just do some really crazy stuff. Like, I just get to start with... What? Come on, Nikolai. Yeah, Knight of the New Coalition. Okay. I was playing very fast, and I also was kind of just like going fast and loose, but playing the Knight of the New Coalition is so much better there. But yeah, I kept getting like in these situations where I was just heavy on one color of mana, which was really, really toasting me in some of these games. But yeah, I was trying to play fast, and I was in a spot where like I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to trade anything because I wanted to get my guys bigger with the Marshal and go for temporal cleansing shenanigans. But yeah, this game was like hitting that plains was super lucky at the time I did. But also like, yeah, if I'd hit like a second plains here or something like that, this game is just like almost instantly over. Protocol Knight. Don't play it. Don't play the Protocol Knight. It's too greedy. No! I feel like going Marshal of Zalfir, attack them for 6, temporal cleansing their Inasika is just so much better. Oh my gosh. So much greed. That is just, yeah. Watching this back is tough for me sometimes. What a play. Past Nikolai just does some crazy stuff sometimes, I guess. Finn the Fangbearer. Okay. Okay. There we hit that. And now, I mean, there's tension, because I would really like to get this Marshal out, but I also want to play the Boonbringer Valkyrie. And now they're going to get to, oh my gosh. I feel like I botched this game horrifically. Why am I giving it to my 3/3? Oh, because I wanted to have Vigilance. Oh, because I'm then going to temporal cleansing. Okay. Yeah, never mind. That's pretty good. This actually ended up working out quite well. Maybe I did do it correctly. I just feel like the Protocol Knight play feels so greedy. Oh, no. And they have this stupid Saiba Cryptomancer? No, they don't. Okay. I don't remember this as well as I should have. But this was a couple weeks ago at the time. So watching this back is very fun for me as well. But yeah, I'm just in such a dominant position now. Just look how crazy Boonbringer Valkyrie is. And like how like absurd the way this game played out was. I just like didn't have a white source. And then on turn 4, I played Knight of the New Coalition. And I was just totally unpunished against this blue-green deck. Just get to like play this Marshal of Zalfir. Then I just like send with everything, I'm pretty sure. They're just in so much trouble. They get to flip their 3/3 or... Yeah. This was a bit of a greedy attack. I don't think I should have attacked with the 3/3 token. Because if they bounce my Marshal of Zalfir... I guess there's not really much they could have. But if they have a Pharaoh's Dispersal for my Marshal of Zalfir... then they get to eat the token, which is kind of annoying. But even then, they take a bunch of damage, so could just be worth it anyway. Yep. And them taking the extra 3 here is certainly relevant. Now I get to play the Phyrexian Censor. Whatever blocker they play comes in tapped. When I was playing this game, I was like, wow, this is insane. My deck is just crushing people. I was like, this is just like the easiest game I've ever played. But I think it's just because blue-green is a bit of a weak deck. And they didn't play their Chrome Host Sea Shark on turn 3 or whatever. Like, that card's pretty good. But yeah, this game is just basically over. I just absolutely... Yeah, their guys come in tapped. I get to, like, tap a guy with my Marshal of Zalfir and then just swing for the win. It's just lethal on board. And, yeah, pretty easy win. Boonbringer Valkyrie, when it goes unanswered, which is very often against blue-green, just wins you the game. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because at this point, I needed to win 2 matches to make $500. And I was like, okay, we can do that. We're up a game here. And I was like, oh no, Arena's crashing. But no, it didn't crash. So the drama was definitely hitting me. Because I was on this time crunch the entire time. Here, I don't think I make a single change. I had no idea what was in their deck. There was nothing crazy going on. But yeah, I just run it back. I really wanted to minimize sideboarding. And at this point, I was like, oh my gosh. I really want my opponents to not sideboard either. Because I was on this, like, okay, speed. And so when my opponent didn't sideboard, I, like, did a fist pump and I, like, high-fived my friend who was sitting next to me. I was like, yes! High five! Whoo! Opponent didn't sideboard. But yeah. I kept having these sketchy hands. I was like, oh, okay, I can't keep a 1-lander. Last time I kept a hand that had 2 islands. And then yeah. My deck really, like, lacked early creatures. It was pretty weird in that regard. Like, normally you just get random 3-drops thrown at you, essentially. But I wasn't really getting random 3-drops in this draft. My opponent also mulliganed, which was fine. Pretty nice for me. I have the Captive Weird, which is, like, a key player in my deck. Honestly, the 2 life from Captive Weird really does add up sometimes if you have like 3 of them. But yeah. Quende. Afara's Dispersal here kind of in the last game it really showed its worth of just bouncing a thing to let me surveil to find my planes. Here I have the Cryptomancer. I really wanted to just completely blow them out here. My whole plan here is to just let them attack me, either bounce their 3/3 token with my Afara's Dispersal, or like try to eat their guy with my Cyber Cryptomancer play. Like when you pass and you don't do anything, they know you have something, because otherwise you would have just flipped your captive weird. But here I'm like trying to get them to attack me with their Blade Master, force them to pump mana into it, and then Afara's Dispersal, and just come out way ahead on tempo. Like that was my whole plan. It's a really interesting thing because they are pretty sure I have something, or else I would have flipped the captive weird. But it just leads to a really interesting scenario. And here I also expose myself to a lot of random shenanigans. Like if I just I wanted them to pump their mana. Here was just a huge mistake. This was a terrible play. I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah. I was trying to get them to do this. This was the exact thing I wanted them to do, but I'm pretty sure that I just get myself blown out by like them having a Forest Dispersal or something like that. I got rid of an island there because I felt like I had plenty to do. Draw the planes, play the Quende. And then next turn, I'm just in good shape. I can like flip Captive Weird and convoke something out. It is really interesting though, because watching these back, it really reminds me of how much it is important to focus, and why a lot of the time when I do play these high stakes things, I like play them off camera or off stream at least, like writing everything down, things like that, because focusing is really, really important for these. And just watching this back, there's a lot of like semi mistakes that I'm making that I'm like, okay, that could have cost me, or oh, that could have cost me, or oh, that could have cost me. Just a bunch of little things that just like really can make a big difference. I'm fairly certain here that they're just going to flip their 3/3. I don't want to trade off my Quende, because if I draw one of my Knight guys, he just gets way better. And if they do double block here, I just win, essentially. Because Elspeth's Smite is just crazy here. It's a reasonable double block from them, because they only really get punished by Elspeth's Smite and also the +2 plus the +1/+1 in protection card. But I think they just concede after the Elspeth Smite here. It's just so over for them. They have nothing in play. I get to just start temporal cleansing their guys. And just hitting them for 8 every turn. Finn. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I drew the Marshal, which was really good. This is exactly why I didn't want to trade the Quende before. So yeah, I just hit them for 10 damage. This is where I was feeling really good about my deck. I was like, man, everything's coming together smoothly. I guess that crazy draft is paying, like, just, I have pretty good card quality as a result. Like, all of my cards I've been playing are pretty solid cards. Like, I don't really have any huge clunkers. And I'm fairly certain they're just like, yeah, this game is just over. I'm pretty sure I just bounced their 5/5, or I, like, bounced their 2/2 and then tap their 5/5 or something like that. Yeah, I tapped that thing, and then I bounced their 5/5, and then I hit them for 10. And they're just like, yeah, this game's over. And the reason I tapped their 0/1 is because then the next turn I can attack with more stuff. The 0/1's not as much of a threat. Forcing them to chump block with their 2/2 is way better for me. And again, the speed was huge for me. So like winning this first match super quickly, I was like, oh my gosh, let's go. We did it. My dreams are coming true. We're only one match win away from $500, which is huge. Here they have a Finn. They have an Herbology Instructor, so they like delay the inevitable a little bit. I really want to get them to chump block with the Herbology Instructor. I was like, oh gosh, because this game could actually turn around if they flip the Herbology Instructor and stuff goes badly for me. But I just got to keep the aggro going. Tap the Finn, attack with everything. They have to, like, basically just jump block one of them with their Converter Beast. I think they might, yeah. They go to 5. Next turn, they get to flip the Herbology Instructor. Kill my, but, like, even no matter what they kill, they're kind of in bad shape. But yeah, this game's just, like, because they have to pay 2 life, especially. So either thing's lethal. They tapped that guy, which I think is just probably fine. But I just aerial boost for the win. It didn't really matter. They were dead anyway, pretty much. I just tapped their Finn. They have to jump block with their 3/3. The next turn I tap their Finn, kill them. But might as well just end the game now. So yeah, that was round 1. I got the first match win, and that leaves me with one match to get $500 and like a bunch more matches to maybe get 1,000 or 2,000, and just have to. I still have 2 losses to give. So see you folks next round. Welcome to the next round. I kept the opener. I'm on the play. I've got Captive Weird on turn 1, Phyrexian Censor on turn 3. I don't really have a Knight for this Protocol Knight, but it's okay. Not having a 2-drop is pretty rough. This deck really lacked 2-drops in like a substantial way. It was really something that I was hoping to get more of. But yeah, this was a really close match. My opponent has the turn 2 Marshal of Zalfir, which is just like really bad for me to see, because I don't really have hard removal in my deck. I have these temporal cleansings. I have an Elspeth's Smite, but I don't really have ways to get the Marshal of Zalfir killed. And then they play Kithkin Billy Rider. I'm like, this is going to be a tough one. This is like the sort of Knights deck that like mine maybe could have been if I had known I was going to play Knights a lot sooner. But yeah, I just play the Censor, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm in big trouble here. The Billy Rider is going to do some major work. If I don't like just... They've got the Marshal of Zalfir too, so they can just start tapping my stuff that matters. I play the Censor, which is really not great for me either. And then they just play Sigil Sentinel. So they pretty much just have like a pretty dream start here. They get to just come at me. Hit me for 6 on turn 4. They don't have their land drop, which is a little bit encouraging for me. This Protocol Knight would be a lot better if it could, if the Protocol Knight would be a lot better if I would able to tap something. I get rid of the Kithkin Billy Rider, which feels pretty good because their Sigiled Sentinel gets a lot worse. And then I just don't attack because I'm going to try to block their Sentinel, I think. They kept the Billy Rider on top, which makes me really hope they don't hit a land here. Of course, they hit the land, and I just get absolutely max punished. Like, it feels so greedy to keep a card on top when you don't have a 4th land. Because I know they missed their land drop. Or I was pretty sure they'd missed their land drop. Even watching this back, I thought they'd missed their land drop. Because they played this Sigil Sentinel with only 3 lands in play. They didn't play a 4th land. And so keeping their Billy Rider on top, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they ripped the land to do that to me. Here, I'm just like basically dead. There's like nothing I can do here. I just got completely obliterated by their blue-white deck that just did like blue-white Knights things. They played only Knights. And like I didn't even have that bad of a start, but their deck just did so much better stuff than mine did. It was like this was the point. The first match I was like, okay, this deck can do it. We can get some wins. And then this second match was happening, and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. I really just wanted to scrap out a win here. If I can get anything out of this deck, if I can get this second match win, it's going to be absolutely huge for me. At this point, I still had like an hour and 20 minutes, so I was like, okay, I still could finish all the matches in the event. Here, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to play level 1 Magic here. Just try to eat their guy. Hope it works out. It probably won't. I'm probably toast. But if I do eat their guy, maybe there's some chance. Some outside possibility that this works out. I was like, man, did they just throw completely? Did they do something terrible? Oh, I don't even remember what happens here. I feel like I get wrecked, though. I'm pretty sure I get wrecked. Like the Elspeth smite me or something. Because they knew this was face up, and this is a Arena open day 2 thing. I guess everyone makes mistakes, because that was not great. I think this was a point where I was like, oh, maybe my opponent's just bad. And then I'm pretty sure they make a play that just devastates me. Okay, no, they don't. They don't devastate me. I don't really know what happened there. I do remember feeling much better after that had happened, and then realizing that I'm still toast. Because of my own Phyrexian Censor stopping me from playing 2 spells in a turn. Because if I'd been able to play both of those, I could have tapped down one of their Knights. It was so silly. I was like, oh no. My own Phyrexian Censor wrecking me. Just like super brutal. I was also like, man, my opponent's playing slowly. I need them to play faster. Even if I'm going to lose this, I need to have more time. Because at this point, I was still like, oh man, we can go all the way. We can go all the way. But yeah, just Just doing my best to survive, but there's pretty much no way. I'm just trying to hope to draw my my Valkyrie. They only get to play one spell a turn also, but they also have like the double tap Marshal of Zalfir set up where they can just tap something on my end step, tap something on their turn. I just have no blockers left and I'm just dead. So yeah, not great. I am dead. I concede, so I can save some time. And I don't really have sideboard options. Another weakness of my deck. I'm just going to actually count my 2-drops. I don't know how many I have. I felt like I had a okay number. Like 4 or 5 maybe. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops. That's okay. Cyber Cryptomancer doesn't really count. But I also have 3 Captive Weirds. So my early game isn't actually that bad. It's just more of a mid-rangey early game because Captive Weirds don't attack. I was like, maybe I just sideboard in all of my cheap cards. And then cut like my Tidal Terror. I sided in Scroll Shift so that if they like tapped my guy with their Marshal of Zalfir or their 4-mana 3/4 Protocol Knight, I could still like do stuff. I took out the Phyrexian Censor because of how badly it wrecked me that last game. And I took out the Protocol Knight as well. And I did not mean to cut the Afar's. I think the Protocol Knight was just like, I need to have cheaper stuff, and this card's not going to do what I needed to do. I think I was like firmly embracing the fact that I was going to be the defensive deck in this matchup. Like, there's not really a chance I can beat them down if they have just a way better curve than me. And my deck's curve was not, like, incredible or anything. And then I was like, oh gosh, they're taking forever to sideboard. They're taking forever to sideboard! No! This is exactly me. Yeah, okay, cool. This is the benefit of this. I could just, like, skip through that. But if you were watching that live, I was, like, panicking. I was like, no, my opponent's taking so long. I'm never going to finish all my matches. Don't start your Arena day 2 draft with, like, an hour and a half left. It's not worth it. Here I was like, oh, cool. 1-drop, 2-drop. Let's go. All I need is a 3-drop and a 3rd land and a 4th land, and then I'll get to do some really good stuff. I had the Scroll Shift. I think Scroll Shift is a card I like more than pretty much anyone else in the world. They were mulliganing. I was like, this is going perfectly. We have 1-drop into 2-drop. They're on the mulligan. I have one of my best 2-drops for the matchup, probably. And overall, things are looking all right. I was like, my gosh, my opponent is taking so long with their mulligan decisions. They have the Tranquil Cove. Here I have like the close choice, kind of, but I just want to do max damage. Hit him with the Swordsworn Cavalier. Sky Clavarialist, not super tempting there. But yeah. Also, I like Swordsworn Cavalier with Quende. That's a good combo. Here, there is some consideration to just, like, flipping the Captive Weird. I think I just do Temporal Cleansing here. Casting this on turn 2 seems very strong. It could be a mistake, though. It just feels really, really good to, like, get rid of their 2-drop. And then next turn, if I draw a land, I just get to play Quende, hit them for, like, 8 damage, because my Swordsworn Cavalier will have double strike. And this does feel like one of the strongest things I could possibly be doing. It's just, like, casting so many spells in the early turns that they can just never catch up. They put it second from the top, which is interesting. It is more high impact to like remove their bigger creatures, but trading my 2-drop for theirs, I'm not really getting another opportunity to cast this Temporal Cleansing for a while, it feels like. And also just gets me way ahead here. Kithkin Billy Rider is a little bit of annoyance. But I just get to this is like the perfect curve out for me. I just get to jam my Quende. I get to send with both my guys. They kind of might be forced to trade here almost, rather than take 6 from my Swordsworn Cavalier. Maybe not, but that's how I was thinking. I was also thinking that I can like Scroll Shift my Quende to give my Swordsworn Cavalier double strike without them knowing about it. But yeah, Kithkin Billy Rider is pretty annoying against my Swordsworn Cavalier. That's for sure. But every card they've played has been a knight. Like, they have a really, really good deck. It's like, my deck is like a bunch of like hodgepodge blue-white cards, and there's like a blue-white knights deck, which is not great for me. I was also just thinking like, okay, you got this, Nikolai. You can win this game, maybe. The Sky Clavarialist is doing some stuff, and then they play Marshal of Zalfir and Swordsworn Cavalier. I'm just like, okay, this game is so much harder to win. This is so hard to win. They don't even play the Swordsworn Cavalier. They're like holding up their own Convoke spell or something like that. I was like, oh, this is what a blue-white knights deck is supposed to look like. It's so tricky for me to win this. I think they attack too. Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, they're attacking me? What am I supposed to do? Definitely not blocking, but it is a lot of damage. And they have their Bond Warden to chump block with. And then I draw my own Marshal of Zalfir. I'm like, oh, this is so good. My Swordsworn Cavalier gets double strike at the 4-2. I just hit them for 1 billion damage. It's just like, this is the dream. I'm on the play. I had like the perfect start. Everything's going my way. You got this, Nikolai. And then they do that, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot worse for me. Significantly worse for me. I was like, man, maybe I should have anticipated them having that. But like, not attacking is super bad. And this is where you're like, oh, Afara's Dispersal is just great. Because they also get to stack their deck here a little bit, get the draw that they want. I'm like, gosh, this must be bad for me if they're taking this long with their Afara's Dispersal. And I was like, oh no. I went from like be feeling very confident in this game because to all of a sudden I'm hitting them for literal 10 less damage because the Quende was hitting them for 6 and the Swordsworn Cavalier no longer has double strike. And so now it's like, okay, they're going to go to 7 here. But I'm still in okay shape. And they're just taking their time. But yeah, this was a that was a brutal as far as Dispersal, which it is often a brutal card. Probably worthy of first picking in some situations. But yeah. They get rid of their sword. And they keep one on top, which is not a good sign for me. I was like, okay. If they keep any card on top, it's probably a kill spell for my Marshal or my Flyer. Or whatever. I think they might jump block here. Yeah, save the damage. Take 2. They're still at 11. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. And they're still hitting me for loads of damage, and I don't have a play this turn. This is why 2-drops are so important. Like, if I had a 2-drop to play there, I'd feel so much better. But they have this Marshal. They can hit me for 6 here, play their own blocker. It's just like, oh, this is so ugly. And I know they kept the card on top. So I'm like, okay, I'm just taking the damage here. Going down to 8. But what do I even do here? Because their Marshal can tap down my biggest threat if they just play their 2-drop and then... So it's like the Marshal of Zalfir War really does favor whoever's like ahead a lot of the time. If I'd had that land the previous turn, I could have done some scroll shift shenanigans maybe. It just like the way things line up sometimes isn't perfect. And now they're tapping down my 4-2. I get to send in for 2. I think I might actually hold back here, and I think it might actually punish me. No, never mind. Okay, cool. I think there was a game where I did that maybe. But yeah. So we've got a pretty solid board state here. I can't actually use my Marshal of Zalfir, which is bad because I had to play. I wanted to replay the Quende. So maybe I was supposed to just like hold up scroll shift or something, but like it feels like not replaying the Quende is just really, really bad for me. I also am in the spot where I can't flip my captive weird because the life loss is like too significant almost. And I know they kept a card on top. It's another Kithkin Billy Rider maybe. Really not ideal for me here. Because it still just like threatens to trade with a lot of my guys. But yeah, their deck is really good. No shame, no shame. I think they're trying to make sure that they don't die on the crackback because I do have a pretty high like attacking. But yeah, they just hit me so low here. I might be supposed to chump block with the captive weird. I don't know. I kind of wanted to keep it around for convoking purposes. There's a land that I could have used earlier. I think I just, yeah, but now I can't flip Skyclave Aerialist because of the life loss. I'm just like, oh gosh, what do I even do here? I think I didn't really consider this play that much. I think I just played my guys, attacked. They gave all their guys hexproof. I was like, I'm just dead. I can't believe it. Super brutal. I put them to 7. I actually put them really low. I think I do have one out here. I have one draw step at aerial boost. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. If I had played my cards slightly differently. Because if I just scroll shift my Quende, and that would give my Swordsworn Cavalier double strike, I could then top deck aerial boost and convoke it out on the Swordsworn Cavalier before blocking, which I think was my only out. And I think I was trying to account for that. I was like, okay. I don't know why I did it with this guy instead of with... Yeah, I think because I wanted the untap blocker. And I don't draw the aerial boost anyway. But I did have an out of winning that game. And this guy just, like... Absolutely... I'm still alive here, technically. They tap my Captive Weird, make me chump with my Marshal. So I still do have, like, some outs. But I'm in real bad shape here. If I was even at one more life, I could have, like, threatened flipping my Captive Weird, which is really what Magic comes down to, is one life point sometimes. Because if I could flip my Captive Weird, then all of a sudden they have way fewer options. They, like, tap my Captive Weird, make me jump with my Marshal. But then all of a sudden I can threaten lethal with the Crackback. But now I can't do that. And they draw Sigiled Sentinel anyway to give their guy Vigilance. I think they should probably put it on the Marshal of Zalfir. So I have to double jump, which they do because they're a good player. And this game's over. There's no coming back from this. Actually, I do have one out. I did have one draw at the aerial boost because I wasn't quite dead. So if I had drawn aerial boost, I would have won. Because my Swordsworn Cavalier would have taken to the skies. And I think I have 2 aerial boosts in the deck. So yeah, pretty close game actually. And if I had one more life point, then I could have flipped my Skyclave Aerialist and played Enduring Bond Warden on the Swordsworn Cavalier to win the game. So pretty close game overall. Pretty crazy match. Then my opponent's deck was really good. So losing that one, I was like, okay, I'm 1-1 now. I need to win one match to get $500 for this tournament. And so we'll see how that goes in my next round. Welcome to round number 3. I'm 1-1. So if I lose this match, I go home with no cash at all. If I win this one, I go home with some. And I'm just going to start off. This is a sketchy hand that I keep. Look at this hand that I kept. I'm on the draw. What am I doing? What the heck is this hand I kept? I have a 4-drop and a Transcendent Message and 5 lands on the draw. And I just snap keep it, I'm pretty sure. I'm just like, yeah, go for it. At this point, I was in speed mode for some reasons because there was like 50 minutes left in the event, and I was trying to make sure that if I was playing my matches, I would have time to potentially play all 3 remaining matches to like go for the 4 wins and get the $2,000. And I was just like speeding through a lot of stuff. I've already said I wasn't really focused in the same way I often am for these tournaments where I'm like, okay, talking through everything, writing stuff down. Because I was chilling with my friends, drafting Khans of Tarkir with my friends' old booster packs, which was sick. My Khans of Tarkir draft deck was epic. But I wasn't playing Khans of Tarkir draft. I was playing March of the Machine for high stakes, and I was just snap keeping Protocol Knight on the draw Transcendent Message in the biggest high stakes match for like $500. This is a $500 match, and I just snap kept that hand. Immediately ripped Captive Weird off the top to block their Ichor Drinker like an absolute beast. Captive Weird may be my best draw just because it gives me something to do on turn 3 as well, and it's a good card for convoking with Transcendent Message. That was just absolutely wild. And this is where I was starting to get worried because it's like, oh gosh, my opponent is playing slowly here. And I really wanted them to just play fast so I can like play fast. But obviously people play slowly in high stakes situations. I literally checked the times. I was like, I've taken 16 seconds and they've taken 40. There is a discrepancy here. They've taken a full minute to my 20 seconds. What is happening? They're literally timing out on turn 2. I was like, this is insane. And I'm like, oh gosh, they're playing blue-black. They have a Fairy Mastermind. This is not going well. Time to cold rip a Skyclave Aerialist off the top. Just perfect blocker for the Fairy Mastermind. This is what it takes sometimes to do well in Magic. You keep a sketchy hand and then you just cold rip everything you need. I then just decide to flip this guy. Also, just a huge mistake play here. They're just going to kill it almost every time I try to do this. Just really weak play, I think. If they have Vanquish the Weak or pretty much anything, I'm just like, gosh, that's such a terrible play. Or a Forest Dispersal, even they just bounce my guy, get huge tempo. Just not something I'm supposed to do. I was not playing optimally sometimes. This is actually, I totally forgot about how that game started. What the heck was that? I was looking at that opening hand. I'm like, did I keep that hand? What am I doing? I also curved perfectly into a 4-drop Quende that I can then curve into Protocol Knight plus Captive Weird into Transcendent Message. So this hand is literally going about as perfectly as it could have. And they missed a land drop. And I'm just like, man, my deck is amazing. I'm just absolutely crushing folks. Look at me go. Also, I just pre-combated a Quende for no reason. I could have played it post-combat, but I played it pre-combat. Let's roll. I'm just watching this is so funny to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. I get to be the viewer this time who criticizes my plays. I get to be the person that's like, what are you doing, Nikolai? Why are you doing this? Past self, why? Why is they not blocking with their Fairy Mastermind on my 2-1 when they're losing the life total race so badly? I'm just like, oh my gosh. What is happening? They hit me for 2, okay. Do they miss their land drop again? They do. I'm just like, man, my deck is so good. I'm just absolutely clowning this person. I get to tap their Ichor Drinker and play another Captive Weird. Let's go. It's just like, this game went so perfectly for me when I kept the sketchiest hand ever. Oh, they get to do that, but it doesn't even matter. I'm just hitting them for like 8. Sometimes Magic is so easy. You just hit them for like 9 damage. They're just like, oh gosh. They also, this is where I was really like laughing about it. I was like, they're literally just chump blocking the wrong creature because Quende's hitting them for 4 and Completed Conjurer's hitting them for 3. I was like, what are they doing? I was literally all tapped out. Yeah, they concede. I was like, let's go. We're 1 game away from $500. We can do this. And I was also fairly confident that my opponent was bad just because of that chump block. But that's obviously a terrible assumption to make when you're playing on day 2 of an Arena Open in the money draft section. It's like, obviously your opponent had to win like 6 matches to get there in the format and do really well on day 1 at some point. And you're just like, okay, at least they didn't take too long to sideboard. But I was like, okay, they chump blocked the wrong creature. What is happening there? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe they're also rushing. I was like feeling a little bit better there. Here I'm like, okay, well, I've got my Tidal Terror. That makes this hand keepable. But yeah, that was such a crazy game for me because I literally drew like perfectly. Like, I don't think I drew a land that entire game. I just drew all spells and they were all the perfect spells. Here they start with their turn 1 Ichor Drinker again. I don't know if they mulliganed. They might have mulliganed. They play their Grafted Butcher. Post-combat, I was like, okay, what is my opponent doing? I think I remember thinking during this match that my opponent wasn't very good, and I think it was a combination of factors, like them playing a post-combat Grafted Butcher and just missing out on a point of damage for free, and I was like, okay, what is happening here? This doesn't make any sense. But it is really annoying, because as we've established, Lords are very good against me, because I can't do much against them. I just don't have kill spells as much. Here I'm like, really choked on blue mana. Really choked on blue mana. I think I decided to play the Captive Weird here. No, I don't. I lied. I want to try to trade with the Grafted Butcher. Because it's just hitting me super hard. I just go for the block. Also, Twitch chat is pointing out that the block didn't matter because either way they lose life because of first strike. I'm foolish. That wasn't a misplay at all by them. I've literally been living my entire life as a lie. Also, this is insane. Aerial Boost is such a sick card when you have this Knight of the Coalition. You just get to Aerial Boost, give 2 things +2/+2, or give something +2/+2. It's wild. But also, they were pointing out that because of first strike, I guess even when I'm watching stuff back, I can't get over my initial assumptions. But yeah, the block doesn't matter because Quende has first strike, so they won't gain the 1 life from the chump block. So they chump blocked the 3/3 and gained 1 life, and so they net took, and so the Quende hit them for 4, but they gained a life from the life link. But if they block the Quende kills it with first strike, and so they still take 3. So it doesn't matter, and I'm foolish. But them not playing their Lord does matter. So there, it was still not the worst assumption. Also, Aerial Boost still remains great with Knight of the Canoe Coalition. I go for the double block here. If they do have something crazy like Vanquish the Weak, I just completely blow them out of the skies. Yeah, this was like the dream. They played that really well, though. I'd rather keep my Knight of the New I forget which one I'd rather keep. I think I'd rather keep in all technicality, I'd rather keep the token around because it can actually tap for blue mana. But that worked out pretty okay for me. They did a really good job with ordering their blocks and stuff. I attack, and then I realize I can flip Captive Weird to try and hit a land drop. No, I don't. Come on, Nikolai, get your head in the game. That's not good. I definitely make more misplays than my opponent, I assume. But it's also funny because I'm also making more fun of my opponent for their misplays. I'm not trying to make fun of my opponent. I'm trying to point out their misplays. And then point out how I was silly because their misplays weren't actually misplays and I'm the foolish one. But yeah, it was like, what is happening? The Grafted Butcher's coming back. They don't leave a black mana open so they can't incubate immediately, which probably should have tipped off some alarm bells in my head potentially. I then proceed to... Oh my gosh. What an awful play, Nikolai. Gosh, I literally could have done this last turn. I also tap my only... I leave up white mana for some reason. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Imagine if I'd done that the last turn. I would have been able to Temporal Cleansing because I would have exiled that one or something. Yeah, my opponent did mess up as well, but... Why am I not holding up blue mana here? That's the real question. It's because I didn't use the auto tapper correctly. Also, yeah, they have a Zephyr Singer. And I'm just like, okay, Protocol Knight, tap your Zephyr Singer. Hit you for 5. This game is not going well for me. I'm really low on life, which watching this back, I was not realizing how low I was on life, but they were hitting me over the course of this game while I was talking about other things. And they have all flyers, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm choked on blue mana. They vanquish the weak my 3/4. I'm in so much trouble. And this game is just like over. There's like no way I can ever win this game. The 2 life from the completed Conjurer certainly adds up. Also, if I had kept alive my 2/2 guy, I would have an extra blue mana available. I think I have to put back in that guy and then try to bounce their token. That's my whole plan here. Because I am only 1 game away from $500 at this point in time. So, like, if this works, I'm like, okay, we got this. I can then just, like, Temporal Cleansing their other flyer, untap, slam Gyruda. I'm like, oh my gosh, my Gyruda's going to hit their Zephyr Singer. We got this. They play Rona, and I'm like, oh no. If they play 4 more instants or sorceries, I just die. But then I get to Gyruda, and I know I'm hitting their Zephyr Singer. It's sick. I'm like, definitely taking their flyer. Yeah, I have Quende or something, but definitely getting the Zephyr Singer here. And not going to use my Convoking abilities. So now I'm like, okay, I've got this. I'm hitting them for 3 a turn. I'm on the precipice of victory. And they kill their thing. And their flyer is once again incredibly dangerous to me. I was like, no! Opponent, if you just waited 1 turn, I had this Cyber Cryptomancer at the ready. Pretty wild the way this game works out sometimes. I think I... What am I... Oh, I'm trying to get them to block with their Rona. And they just walk right into it. I'm like, what is happening? I can't believe they blocked there. Their Rona is supposed to be... I mean, maybe they have to, but like, gosh, that was a pretty obvious combat trick right there. Just like everything coming up Nikolai here. I probably should have just left the Cyber Cryptomancer untapped because he's a hexproof jump blocker. And Swordform Cavalier is not. I am at 2 life. Are there cards that can kill me here? Meeting of the Minds is not it. And I think just like that, I won 500 bucks. Gosh, I forgot how lucky this match went for me. How like everything lined up super well. I was super happy. I was like, oh my gosh, the deck got there. After the previous round where I got absolutely obliterated, I was like, let's go. Also, this opening hand is just like poster child for what the heck was that? I was like, oh my gosh. We won 500 bucks. Let's go. Super good. Super good. See you folks next round. Welcome to round number 4 of the thing. I am currently 2-1 with this deck that was crazy draft. And the important thing to note about this round is that it was going to be the final round of my draft no matter what, because I sat in the queue for legitimately, I kid you not, 35 minutes looking for an opponent. So I had like 40 minutes left. I was like, okay, I could get 2 matches in to get these last 2 rounds in. But I was in the queue for over half an hour looking for an opponent, and I thought I wasn't going to find an opponent to play against. And little did I know I was going to match up against the exact same person that I had just defeated handily 2-0. Or maybe not handily. That second game was incredibly close. And maybe you could say that I stole the victory by getting incredibly lucky with my draws. But regardless, I was playing against the exact same person I had just played against. It was going to be my final round because there was only like 10 minutes left in the event at this point. So I was kind of demoralized from just that alone, where it was like, oh gosh, unless I finish this game in like 10 minutes and then immediately queue into somebody, I'm not even going to have a shot at the max prize. But I've already won $500, which is incredible. I'm super happy. I'm still chilling with all my friends, hanging out, and this is what the final round looks like. I win the die roll. I'm like, I just beat this guy. Oh my gosh, let's go. And I keep like a reasonable hand. But yeah, it was absolutely wild. I started off playing Captive Weird, just like one would dream of. I then immediately rip a planes to play Marshal of Zalfir, and in Nicolai fashion, things are going great for me. As things have been going this day. And then I think my opponent just doing their thing. I've already played against them. I already know some of their cards. I don't know if I was writing stuff down, because I'm pretty sure I wasn't. I go for the Captive Weird flip. It's just my only play. And I'm like, oh, this could be a little bit rough. I might be flooding a little bit. I attack in. Walk into a Forest Dispersal. I have plenty of lands and not enough action, so I'm happy to trade a Forest Dispersal for one of my guys. They Final Flourish. Not the best for me. I'd much rather have seen a Forest Dispersal, but this is okay still. They just do nothing. And I just draw another land. So things aren't going great for me this game. I'm a bit flooded. And they haven't been like missing land drops or anything, so they probably have action in hand. I just go for the flip immediately. They just max punish me with a Vanquish the Weak, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, oh, this is not great. It's like my only line, but at the same time, it doesn't feel great. They were going to just get that no matter what, pretty much. I'm just like, okay, this Tidal Terror can at least do some stuff, though. Even my own video's lagging. I'm like, okay, they're just holding up their mana again. I'm still hitting them every turn, but I just like haven't drawn a single spell this game pretty much. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to play this Tidal Terror next turn. Let's hope that's good enough to do some stuff. They're at 11. I'm at 16 from paying this life for stuff. They flash in their Fairy Mastermind. And I'm like not even that far ahead on the race because of all the life I've paid into these completed Conjurers and the Captive Weirds and stuff. They have 5 cards in hand. I have 4, but I know that none of mine are really relevant. They play Zephyr Singer. So I'm like, oh gosh, Flyers are really good against me. Luckily, I get to play my Tidal Terror now. I draw my Transcendent Message, and I'm like, wow, this card's actually doing work here. It's going to be a draw 4. But I'm also taking 5 in the air every turn, which is not great. And I have them at 11, which is critically not 10. If they were at 10, the Tidal Terror would be a 2-hit kill. But it is not. I'm like, gosh, I'm on a 3-turn clock here from them. They play Halo Forager, flashback, they're -6, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. This game lined up. This is one of those games where every spell they had lined up very well with what I had, and I just didn't have any options on any of my turns to play around it, really. So it was like kind of the perfect storm of me just getting completely obliterated. I was like, well, this game just lined up incredibly poorly for me, and there's nothing I could have done. It is also at this moment that I was incredibly grateful that this had happened in this match instead of the match before, because considering it was the exact same opponent, I was like, oh, this is the exact same opponent. If I had played against this opponent, like, the round before, I would have been like, if they had done this to me the round before, I wouldn't have won any cash, because if they beat me this badly, or I guess I would have still had game 3, but, like, I was, like, trying to, like, calculate in my head how I could be, like, just happy that this hadn't happened the game before. Also, they kept the Halo Forager instead of the Fairy Mastermind, which seems to make sense. I had just drawn 4 here, so I was like, okay, maybe I could scrape out a win here. Pull something together, and then just play another flyer. I'm like, oh gosh, they just have too many lethal threats. Wicked Slumber, I'm like, ooh. Haha. But Captive Weird, not being able to activate is super brutal, and also my Phyrexian Censor making it so I can only play 1 spell a turn is also super brutal. I think I have some combination of lines here that I could do that would be, like, potentially game-winning. In, like, a vacuum, if they have, like, no cards in hand. Whereas, like, I can hit them for 3 a couple times, but, like, the problem is my Wicked Slumber can only delay the inevitable for, like, a turn. And I have the Elspeth Smite, and... oh, man. Do I actually activate this? I was also, like, kind of rushing as well, to be fair, here. I'm like, okay. I activate my Captive Weird. We'll see what we do here. And then I think they just max punish me with a bounce spell or something. Yeah. I don't think I'm ever beating Collective Nightmare there. But I think there's, like, some, like, if I play the Phyrexian Censor instead. But I took 6 damage from my Captive Weirds here. And that's a huge difference in this game. Also, I'm definitely supposed to tap the Flitting Gorilla. Don't know what I'm doing with that one. Oh, I know what it was. I didn't want to kill the Flitting Gorilla because they have another flyer in their graveyard or something. Or I wanted to exile it or something. I'm not sure what I was doing there. If I just tap the Flitting Gorilla and the Zephyr Singer, kill the Halo Forager with my Elspeth Smite. I was so close to winning this game. I was like 2 damage off or something. If I had, like, played this slightly better, I think I could have won maybe. And then I just concede, even though I'm not technically dead on board. I could have, like, bounced something. Oh no, I was dead because I can't cast 2 spells in a turn. They have 2 flyers and I can never get through that. Yeah. That was a tough game. Everything was lining up kind of tough for me. And also, like, I don't know. It was one of those games where their flyers were a real problem, and I didn't take enough time to think about it. But even if I had, their Collective Nightmare was going to absolutely wreck me. I think I took out the Tidal Terror because I didn't want to get -6 again. But, yeah. I was like, my gosh, my opponent's deck has a lot of flyers, and I do not have a lot of answers. Did I just side in Scroll Shift? Of course I did. Scroll Shift is the sort of card that I really like that I oftentimes know isn't very good, and so I wanted to play it. So I look for any excuse to bring it in. I think, oh yeah, they have removal. I can bring in Scroll Shift and wreck them. But yeah, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm finishing another game. Maybe I should have played that a little slower. But I think that turn, if I play my Phyrexian Censor and then go for Wicked Slumber. Oh, hey, Houston. Thanks for the subscription. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Welcome in. Thanks for the Twitch Prime. This was a game that I think I messed up, and I am, like, watching this back. I think on this turn, I'm supposed to play Marshal of Zhalfir here 100%. This was such a bad choice. Oh my gosh. What am I doing? I'm watching, like, literally, like, I was thinking about this later that day. If I play Marshal of Zhalfir here, I have a 2/2 that can, like, block their guy. Not that I really want to block, because they have a great start. This is the start they had on me that other game where they remembered to play the Grafted Butcher. But I just get choked on blue mana, and if I had just played the Marshal of Zhalfir, then I would have, on turn 4, I'd have openings to play. Like, I could have just played Marshal of Zhalfir into Marshal of Zhalfir. I was actually trying to do the math in the heat of the moment on optimizing damage on which does more damage in a vacuum, when Marshal of Zhalfir is just clearly better, I think. Though I think I might have been slightly afraid of removal at the time. It was like, because I have only one blue source, playing the Marshal of Zhalfir on turn 2 and then playing another Marshal of Zalfir on turn 3 lets me hit them for 3. Whereas playing the Swordsworn Cavalier followed by the Marshal of Zalfir lets me hit them for 4. And what I was thinking was, oh, I'm going to hit them for as much damage as possible. Whereas instead I should have been thinking, oh, I play Marshal of Zalfir. They don't get to hit me with their lifelink creature. And so then when I play this other guy, it doesn't matter. So playing the Marshal of Zalfir on turn 2 there is so much better. And it works out so poorly for me this game. It like is just unbelievably horrific for me because of the fact that I draw planes. Because now imagine if I played Marshal of Zalfir on turn 2 and then I play Marshal of Zalfir on turn 3, all of a sudden I have a 3/3 blocker and they can't attack me. This game is just like, yeah. I did draw the Protocol Knight, which does help. But like, it was bad. I was like, okay, I've got to be aggressive. Got to stay aggressive here. Not going to beat myself up in the moment. But in the past, since I'm talking about my past self, I can beat myself all I want. I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, Nikolai? I did some questionable things. As I said, not 100% focused, playing fast, getting wrecked by Wicked Slumber anyway. My gosh. And I'm just like, oh, this is bad. This is like, it's not like game-losingly bad, because I'm like missing out on like one guy I maybe should have had. I go for the attack. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hope they don't have removal. I'm like backs to the wall here, really hoping they don't have anything. They attack. I'm like, I'm so toast. I don't know why I blocked the lifelinker. Blocking Grafted Butcher's almost definitely better, especially against this. I think I was like, oh, I'm trying to race them and I need to get their lifelinker off the board. But this is not looking good for me. I draw another planes. I'm like, oh my gosh, so punished. I think I just have to attack with both guys there. Though I'm dead on board then maybe. I don't even know. I don't attack with anything. Oh no. What am I doing? That's so cowardly. Because they're going to flip their... I was like, this was much too scared of a play. I think I have to attack there. If I attack them for 4 there, I actually have a chance of winning maybe. I'm tapping their flyer. Oh no. Gosh. What am I doing? I think if I attack them for 8 there, it's even better. So if I attack them for... My plan was... Why didn't I just play Skyclave Aerialist to block? I think if I attack them for 8 there, play a Skyclave Aerialist to block their 2/2, they flip their 2/2 Incubate token, attack me with everything. I'm still alive. That was pretty bad. I'll just say it. I'm like, okay, Gyruda, you're my only hope. Okay, Gyruda, you're not my only hope. But like, I could have hit them for 4 the previous turn. I think I just like was afraid of them just... I don't even know. If I hit them for 4 the previous turn, it works out so much better for me. I guess they just trade. Maybe that's what I was worried about. The trade isn't that bad for me, though. Oh, that's why I didn't do it. Oh, because they get to... Past Nikolai actually does something right. It was because I didn't want this thing... The 2/2 guy can give Menace when he comes back into play. I don't know exactly what he gives Menace to, but I think he gives Menace to stuff. And so if they sacrifice their Cryptomancer to bring that guy back, I might be in trouble or something against their board state of some kind, in some way. Huh. I don't know. I think I didn't want to make the trade or something. But I don't know why I'm not just playing my creatures to block. I think I'm just trying to stall for Gyruda and hope that that's good enough. But I definitely don't think I played this game very well. It was a lot of Magic I had been playing. This was after I had team drafted as well. Now I'm just like, okay, well, if I had attacked a little bit more aggressively earlier, I might have been able to do some shenanigans here. But also I know they have all spells in hand, which was scaring me. I'm going to stop beating myself up because I think I also played, this draft was a really tricky draft. These matches are crazy. My deck was not really cooperating. Like, I was getting punished to the max for every decision I made in some situations where it's like they always had the removal spell. It felt like I wasn't hitting my islands. I was just drawing planes. So I was getting max punished in a lot of situations. This next turn is like pretty much iconic of what this second match against JW Liao was like. I ripped the island. I'm like, let's go. We did it. We get our Gyruda. We can maybe hit something really good to stabilize and win this game. And then this is what happens. It's just like, yeah, there's the thing. It can give the thing a menace. I just completely whiff. I don't hit a single creature. I'm like, you're kidding me. You're absolutely joking. Just game-losing Gyruda whiff. There's so many cards I could have hit that would have been good there. Like, I know my opponent has the 3/4 flyer. I just have to hold back everything because they just have enough creatures to give their stuff menace and kill me. I'm pretty sure it's just like, oh gosh. I think I could have attacked a little bit more aggressively, but like, oh my gosh. Whiffing on Gyruda feels so bad. Especially after I waited so many turns to maybe just have a chance at hitting Gyruda. Just like, so suboptimal for me. Super suboptimal. They're just thinking. They've got plenty of decisions to be made here. I was also in a spot where I think if I kill their Flitting Gorilla, they get something back that's really good. Like, I don't remember what was in their graveyard at the time, but I was pretty sure it was something that was kind of good. Like another flyer or something. They play Halo Forager. The thing that I just milled off of my Gyruda is the -2/-2 that they can use to now kill my Gyruda. So Gyruda was just like a complete waste of time for me. Just all it did was set up their Halo Forager, which is just like, you're gotta be kidding me. This was a very tilting second match, but I was just like thinking to myself, I'm so glad that this match happened before the other match, because otherwise I was just like, it's like if the other match had happened first, if this match had happened first, I would have and then I ripped the Boonbringer Valkyrie. I was like, this is my only out. Boonbringer Valkyrie, let's go. I then proceed to give it to Quende, which does gain me the most life, but if they block with the Halo Forager, it only gains me 3 life because first strike. Which I then, it's still good enough for me to stay alive. But I should have probably put it out of the Protocol Knight so I could gain slightly more life. And then, of course, they just have the land to play their Merciless Repurposing before I can stabilize. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's game. That was game. Super brutal. This was a super brutal match. But as I said, it was lucky that I played this one after the first one where I got super lucky against them. I drew the Wicked Slumber too, though. So I'm like, oh, gosh. I actually have maybe, like, some slight, like, chance of winning if I draw, like, I don't even know. 3, 6, I've like, if I draw Aerial Boost to, like, give Quende double strike and they, like, attack with everything or something crazy. But, like, I'm just like, okay, I'll tap the Gorilla, I'll tap the Shade. What do I need to draw now? And they had negate. So, like, just, like, everything lined up badly for me that game. I did make some weird things. Like, if I'd attacked slightly differently or things like that, I could have maybe had a better chance, but I don't think I was winning that game. Overall, I was just like, okay, I'm super glad that I won the first match, because if I'd lost the first match, I would have not made anything. But as this was, I went 2-2 in this second draft. I made $500 in the draft. It was a huge win. It was honestly just an amazing day because I was just hanging out, team drafting with my friends, and then drafted some cons. I did this draft. I did like the first draft from this one in the morning and went 4-0 in that one, and then I did this draft and I went 2-2 and got the $500. It was an amazing feeling to kind of do that, despite the fact that draft was incredibly tricky. These matches were really tough. It felt like sometimes things lined up really well for me, but also things lined up really poorly for me. I generally prefer it if it's like all the games are pretty close and hard fought, so I can like use my skills, versus the ones where it's like, okay, I have everything going well for me and then everything going poorly for me, because the ones where everything goes poorly is super tough, but also very interesting. So really hope you enjoyed this kind of retroactive talk through of it. I do think that live commentary is really fun, but also it's kind of cool to be able to talk about this in the past tense and like kind of use what I learned and stuff like that. But yeah, getting $500 is no joke, especially for playing Magic. Crazy stuff. I think I'm like looking through their graveyard like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how everything lined up this game. The Merciless Repurposing just completely hosed my Boonbringer Valkyrie, even after they'd used a bunch of removal. Gyruda whiffed. And of course, I did the classic play my wrong 2-drop on turn 2 and have that snowball a bit. But yeah, really crazy stuff. I'm going to show off my deck one more time, I'm pretty sure, in this thing. Past Nikolai knows what he needs to do for the outro. He needs to give me the picture of the deck so I can show. But yeah, there was like no time left in the event. The event was like basically over. So I don't know if my opponent even got another round. So maybe my opponent made like the same amount as me because they might not have had enough time. But yeah, pretty crazy. The event had literally ended by this time. So I was like, what has happened? It's literally not letting me look at my deck because the event had ended by the time that match ended. So even if I'd won, it wasn't like I was going to have a shot at the $2,000. I was only going to get the $1,000. So, but yeah, it literally like looks like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I have this recorded for evidence in case it doesn't give me any prizes, but it has the little prize thing at the top there. So pretty crazy stuff. If you did make it all the way to the end of this video, leave hashtag flashback in the comment section down below, because this was a flashback for me looking back, and it's a flashback to like a retroactive draft analysis. So leave that in the comments to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Let me know what you thought. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe for more. I'm really happy with that $500, even if I was like not as emotional as I normally would be having it happen in the moment, but it was still pretty crazy. It was a cool time. The draft was insane. I first picked a 5-color rare, all that crazy stuff. And yeah, I hope you folks enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you folks next time.